Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neil, and Jeff. This is Triviality. The cream of the crop!
Hello and welcome to Triviality, the game where a lack of seriousness meets a little bit of knowledge. My name is Neil, and joining me in the studio is the full collective of Ken, Matt, and Jeff. How's it going?
Hello.
Hello.
Pretty well.
Today's pretty special. We had our great listeners, Doug and Kelly Bowles, reach out for a International Women's Day themed game. We wanted to do something to celebrate, and they've written just a game for us to perform today and to play in. And we have some special guests coming to us over Skype. So starting with Kenya Hitchens, originally from New Orleans, but now currently in St. Louis, Missouri. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent.
Doing great. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Originally from New Orleans, born and raised. My background's marketing, and I'm out here in the Midwest right now. Just
trying not to freeze. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Trying not to fall and bop my head on ice or anything like that.
And you're also a singer, you told us as well.
I am. I'm the lead singer of a classic rock band called Whiskey Moon out here in St. Louis, and I sing pretty well. I also play keyboards pretty badly.
Hey, if it's a keytar, no one plays it badly.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
Looks too cool. Well, thank you for joining us today and for listening to the show and having this be the first of many appearances, hopefully. Her teammate today is going to be Maddie Chandler, who is originally from Nixa, Missouri, so a little bit of a Missouri connection today, but is currently in Omaha, Nebraska. How's it going, Maddie?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Quite good, thanks.
Yes, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found the show.
So I am currently a third-year medical student at Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. Also currently freezing, as we've gotten like 3 inches of snow today on top of the 3 that we already had. So yeah, I'm just living life up here, going to school, trying to make it through. But the end is in sight. Got just 1 more year, and then I'll be off somewhere else in a residency.
Are you guys Blue Jays at Creighton? Is that what that is?
We are the Blue Jays.
Look at that knowledge there.
Yeah, it's Kyle Korver related.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he went to Creighton.
Oh yes, we're very proud of him, and
And his hairstyle.
and Doug McDermott.
Oh, Dougie McBuckets. I miss him.
Yeah,
I don't know what any of that means, but I enjoy the camaraderie.
we're speaking in tongues now.
Yeah, exactly.
Basketball, Neil. That's basketball.
Basketball.
So as much as the gentleman in the studio wished to play alongside you ladies, it seems that due to, just technical reasons, you guys are going to be on a team together playing against Jeff and Matt. But due to your collected interest in music and the medical field, you came up with a great team name today.
Yeah, their team is going to be the Supreme Nightingale in honor of the Supremes and Florence Nightingale.
Yes, we are much less creative over on this side. Jeff, what did you say we were?
We'll be the Curies.
The
One
Curies.
for
Jeff's love of
each
science.
of the Nobel Prizes. So
We will just be trying to keep up is basically what this is.
And hosting today's excellent game. I think Neil already said it.
Yes, Kelly and Doug Bowles coming to us from Portland. They were on a previous episode that you would have heard that was James Bond themed that I hosted, but they reached out graciously and wrote this game for us, and I'm going to have Kelly explain a little bit more about how they came up with the idea and reintroduce themselves. So how's it going, both of you?
We're great. Well, at least I'm great.
I am too.
We're very excited to be hosting this show. This was actually my husband's idea. We've been together for 16 years, and I am a very fierce feminist, and in order for him to stick around for 16 years, he is also a very fierce feminist, and actually was the one to reach out about hosting a trivia show specifically for International Women's Day. So all of the questions will be all about famous women and their accomplishments, and we've got a couple little tidbits of extra information for most of the questions as well. So hopefully it'll be fun, also educational, and yeah, we're really excited.
And inspiring. I should hope.
Hopefully it'll be very inspiring because these women are really amazing.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having us back. We're super, super excited, as Kelly said. Completely agree with everything you said, Kelly. I think the only thing I'd add is that in the questions, you're probably going to hear a lot of firsts. The first woman to do this, that, and I think that's obviously very important to remember and to celebrate. And they tend to make good trivia questions first, but I think we both are excited to do this episode because we want to make sure that we celebrate those first, but also the 100th, 1,000th, millionth woman to do something until it becomes acknowledged that gender isn't really a requirement for achievement. So for that reason, we're super happy to be here.
We didn't come up with a question on a topic that you're passionate about. I hope that we can do that in the future. So
yeah, and let us know, and we'll try to work it in.
Hey, you send it in under our question 5.
There
so
you
we can
go.
read those there.
And no better transition like that to toss it to the rules guy.
The rules of the game are simple. 20 questions split into 2 rounds worth 10 points apiece. At halftime, there'll be a special swing round designed by this week's host. After regulation, players will enter the final round with the points that they've accumulated and will have a chance to wager 0 to 30 points on 5 categorized questions. At the end of the game, someone will be named the cream of the crop.
All the way to the top, yeah.
On behalf of all of us, Ken, Matt, Jeff, and myself, we're very aware of the fact that we're just 4 white dudes from the Midwest, but we try our best to be as inclusive as possible and have as many female voices as we can on the show, just because we're kind of lacking that here in this studio that many call the Sweat Lodge because it's always hot. So thank you for reaching out, first of all, for doing that, and thank you to Maddie and Kenya for joining us and continuing that trend because it's something we want to keep growing and evolving with. So
That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
So without further ado, let's jump on into the game.
Question 1, the category is business. So the question is, according to a recent study, only 24 women are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. The largest Fortune 500 company with a woman CEO is ranked number 10 overall and has products named Sonic and Spark. Name the company. And for 5 bonus points, name their CEO.
Spark. Those almost they sound very techy. Like
They do
they're
sound techie.
I'm not giving you much to work on, so
I'm not giving you much to work on, so I think we should just, throw it at a dartboard and be done with it.
all right. I guess our answer will be Samsung, and I don't think we got anything for the
Nope.
name.
All right.
I was thinking I was pretty sure that Spark and Sonic were Chevrolet models, and I'm fairly confident that there's a woman in charge of General Motors, which would be the parent company for Chevrolet. After racking my brain for a minute, I couldn't remember her name, unfortunately, but we locked in GM for the regular points.
GM is right. And the CEO for GM, her name is Mary Barra.
That's right.
And she went to Stanford, and she was actually in their product development, and prior to that, she was in HR for them.
Cool.
Question number 2 is on suffrage. In 1848, the Seneca Falls Convention, which was the first women's rights convention, passed a resolution in favor of women's suffrage despite opposition from some of its organizers who believed that the idea was too extreme. Within 4 years, how many years after the Seneca Falls Convention were women finally allowed to vote in a national election?
So we're basically in the same ballpark. So I think we're going to work with her number of 1919 and then working from 1848. And if I can still do math, then that's going to be 71 years.
I'd be good going with 1920 just to give a little more wiggle room since we have those 4 years to work with. So that'd be 72.
72. Mm-hmm.
If I can,
So, yeah,
if I can math it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Math it correctly.
So yeah, I think we can go with 72.
So yeah, we were thinking it was right about that time. We remembered New Zealand was the first country to do it, but we said we were pretty sure it was 1920, or at least 1920 was the first election nationally that women participated in that capacity, and so we said 72.
All right, nice job, teams. The 19th Amendment was ratified by a majority of states right before the election of 1920, so the correct answer would be 72 years. Well done.
Nice. Nicely done, Kenya.
Ah,
That explains why 19 and 20 were in our heads and we were trying to
Yeah.
figure it out because it was the
Yeah.
19th Amendment.
See,
Okay.
we didn't even need your 4 years.
Yeah.
Take them back. You don't need them.
I will take it back.
The a couple interesting pieces of information about this are that Wyoming was actually the first state to allow women to vote in statewide elections in 1890. And the last state to ratify the 19th Amendment was Mississippi in 1984.
Yikes.
They had a lot to do,
So-
apparently. They were too busy to get around to it.
Yeah.
Question number 3. The category is professions. In what profession did Valentina Tereshkova, Krista McAuliffe, and Eileen Collins distinguish themselves?
We are locked in.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow, that was quick. All right, so you feel free to talk.
She was one of the 7 on the Challenger shuttle that exploded on January 28th of 86.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Valentina Tereshkova is the first woman in space. I think she was a cosmonaut. So you're thinking astronaut or?
I know primarily Krista McAuliffe was a teacher, but then they did train her to go into space.
I think astronaut would probably be the more like, if they like distinguished themselves as that. No offense to all the teachers out there, but there's a lot of teachers. There's not that many astronauts in the world. So
Yeah. Okay.
All right, and Team Curies?
Yeah, we agree. Valentina Tereshkova was the first woman in space, so we said astronauts.
And astronauts is correct. Nicely done. So you guys had Tereshkova McAuliffe, as you mentioned, was a part of the Challenger crew, and Eileen Collins was actually the first female pilot and the first female commander of a space shuttle. All right, question number 4 is on first ladies. Following her husband's stroke in 1919, most historians believe that she became the first unofficial woman to be president. And she would make cabinet members wait in the West Wing sitting room hallway while she supposedly reviewed papers with her husband, but most likely made decisions on his behalf. Who was this first lady who became the third to marry a president while he was in office?
Okay. So one of my hobbies, things that I really love is learning about like presidential history. And I know for a fact I know that Wilson was in office during that time. He was in from 13 to 21. I also know that his first wife died and he married in the White House. So I was confident that it was Woodrow Wilson's wife. And then we talked about it and we believe her first name's Edith, but we locked in with Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the Curies?
Yeah, we're pretty confident it was Woodrow Wilson's wife. The first name had escaped us, but we locked in last name Wilson.
The correct answer is Edith Wilson. Well done.
Yay!
Hooray!
I remember.
I first learned about that story on Drunk History, which was
Nice!
That episode
a
is
very
great.
entertaining reenactment with Courtney Cox, I believe, playing Edith Wilson.
Drunk
So
history is the best.
She's great in everything,
Yeah.
including Cougar Town.
Oh, especially Cougar Town.
Every time we record this podcast, it's like Drunk History with Matt. So
Oh, get out of here.
I've learned far too much American history and world history from Drunk History that I was never taught in school.
yes, that is same. Okay. Question number 5 is on multifaceted women. In 1933, she was one of the first celebrities to launch a clothing line selling affordable separates at Macy's and Marshall Field's that used unconventional materials such as parachute silk and buttons shaped like propellers. Who was this woman?
Amelia Earhart,
That kind of makes sense.
given the parachute and the buttons made
Oh,
of
yeah.
that look like propellers.
I just said Hepburn because she was fashionable. But your answer has logic, and mine is just a random guess.
And you know how I love logic, even though it sometimes fails us.
Yeah, we are locked in.
okay, both teams are locked in. Let's start with the Curies.
That's us, Jeff.
My apologies. I didn't hear any input for a while, and I thought maybe I didn't hit unmute. So we said Amelia Earhart for the parachutes and the propeller tie-in.
And Supreme Nightingale?
Yeah, we went with pretty much the same logic. 1933 would have been the height of popularity for Amelia Earhart, and it seems like the aviation clues point right to her. So we went with Amelia Earhart.
Yes, that is correct.
All right.
Yay!
We are crushing this game so far.
You always have to say stuff like that. And it falls
I
apart.
know. It's like
It's like a perfect game, right?
She did have
Don't talk about a
really
perfect game.
that's like the part in the movies where they're like everything's going great right before like the serial killer comes out.
So after the first 5 questions, it looks like the Supreme Nightingale has 40 points, and Team the Curies has 50 points. So very close game.
All right. Question number 6 is on, I guess, literal and figurative summits. While only standing 5 feet tall and weighing 92 pounds, Japanese woman Junko Tabei is famous for being the first woman to climb Mount Everest and the first woman to complete the 7 summits, which is the highest mountain in all 7 continents. So using the Messner list that includes all of Oceania rather than just Australia, name 3 mountains in this list other than Mount Everest.
So K2.
I think it's no. So it's the highest peak on every continent. So K2 is still it's in the same range. So I believe it's Denali in formerly known as Mount McKinley in Alaska for North America. I believe it's Aconcagua in South America.
Obviously.
I'm pretty sure I never remember Australia's, and the one in Antarctica is kind of weird. So I think we're going to go with, and I don't know how the Messner list is distinguished because there's 2 potential peaks in Europe, depending on whether you count like Turkey as a part of Europe or whatever.
Messmer.
What's the mountain in the Toto song about Africa? Kilimanjaro?
Kilimanjaro.
I believe Kilimanjaro is the highest point in Africa.
Okay. That is 3. We were
3 of the
locked in.
remaining 6.
I think we've just reached a consensus. So
Yeah, we just
AKA Kenya said the 3 answers, and I said sounds good, and we moved forward.
I'm pretty sure for North America it's Denali, aka McKinley, aka Denali. For Africa we have Kilimanjaro, and then for the third we have South America, which is Aconcagua.
Yeah, we went through a
really
similar
familiar.
process in the sense that Jeff said things and I said okay.
You and me, Matt.
Yeah.
Kindred spirits here.
Well, it's a good thing we weren't on the same team because this wouldn't be going as well.
We would have just been shrugging our shoulders at each other.
Yeah.
All right. So the highest mountain in Antarctica is Mount Vinson. The highest mountain in Oceania is Puncak Jaya, which I'm sure I just butchered. Elbrus is the one for Europe. Then you have Kilimanjaro in Africa, Denali in North America, and the one in South America is Mount Aconcagua. So both teams get it right.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Nicely done.
Good job.
Hooray!
I kind of blacked out during that. I had no idea what was going on.
Okay, question number 7 is my question because it's about psychology and I'm a psychologist. So this question is, Mary Ainsworth was a Canadian-American psychologist who created the experimental method known as the strange situation to test the validity of which theory, which has contributed to the rise in baby-led feeding, baby wearing, and co-sleeping.
Like imprinting.
That's
That's what animals do.
No, there is something with imprinting. That's for sure.
This makes me think of Twilight because Jacob does that to Bella's kid.
God.
He imprints her.
Let's
It's
talk
kind of
about-
weird. I mean,
Let's talk about bite marks, Neil.
Yeah.
no, I mean he
No,
imprints her. I'll imprint you, Matt.
No. No.
All right, so it looks like Supreme Nightingale is locked in pretty early on this one. So what were you guys thinking here?
We got nothing on it. So what do we agree on? Cohabitation theory?
I let you pick. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
we
think of
made
what
up
this
we
was.
made up a theory and went with it.
Okay, and Supreme Nightingale.
So, as a medical student who just finished her OB-GYN rotation, I feel like I should know a little bit about babies. So what we came up with, which just because it was revolved around like having the baby next to the mother, on the mother at all times, we came up with the attachment theory.
And the answer is attachment theory.
Yay!
Yep. Mary Ainsworth was actually not the one who first described attachment theory, but she was the one who came up with the experimental method to actually test it. And it has become sort of an integral part of how we think about child development and the sort of basis for behavioral problems later on. So that's Mary Ainsworth for you.
All right.
Neil's held a baby or two in his day.
I've taken care of a baby. I took a baby CPR class. I know what I'm doing.
There you go.
I'm safe around your kids.
All right. Moving along from that, question number 8 is on technology. In the 1840s, what technology pioneer and daughter of Lord Byron wrote what is widely considered to be the first computer program?
We can lock in.
Ooh.
Lock in.
Put you on the spot.
Put you on the spot, Jeff and Matt.
Kenya was so enthusiastic. I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
You should have learned this, Jeff.
I should have.
Shame
learned
on
this.
you.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, I don't think Matt and I are going to get it.
Tapping?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Okay. We'll go to Supreme Nightingale.
You can see my paper here, but I put down Ada Lovelace. I got super excited.
I 100% support your answer.
Okay. The correct answer is Ada Lovelace. Well done.
Okay, question number 9. This category is the cabinet. In 1933, Frances Perkins became the first female cabinet secretary, serving under FDR for 12 years as Secretary of Labor. As of today, what 3 cabinet departments have yet to have a female secretary?
I have no earthly idea. I could not, unfortunately, tell you the current agriculture secretary or anyone who has ever held that position.
Maybe we go with Homeland Security and Housing and Urban Development and Defense.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
All right.
This
is as good an answer as any.
Said with about 17% confidence.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we may be wrong. I think Homeland is probably a good one because that's only been around for a few years.
Yeah.
We said energy for that same reason. I think that was a Carter era addition. So we said that. And then defense. What was the other one, Matt?
Transportation. That's what we locked in with.
This was a very difficult question. I have always been a little fascinated with Frances Perkins since I did a report on her in the 7th grade. I was just that big of a nerd. And so anyways, we were looking at information about her, and then I got interested in which cabinets have never had a female secretary. And the 3 are Treasury, Defense, and Veterans Affairs. Homeland Security is actually Kristen Nielsen.
Yeah, that's right.
And Transportation right now is Elaine Chow, which Maddie mentioned. So, Treasury, Defense, and Veterans Affairs have never had a female cabinet secretary. The other interesting thing about this is that the Department of Labor has had the most female cabinet secretaries with 7 total, which surprised me. So,
all right.
Question number 10 is in music. Despite only winning 1 Grammy, who did Billboard name the top-selling Latin artist of the 1990s?
Selena or J-Lo?
The perennial question. I was thinking Selena for some reason.
Let's just lock in with Selena.
I was thinking Selena.
Okay.
So this is where I'm torn. On the one hand, obviously, if you're saying like going into 2000s, J-Lo absolutely like 100%. But there's Gloria Estefan, but she was mostly 80s. And the thing with Selena is that she had this kind of limited base when she died, but the manner in which she died made her like this martyr. And then there was this big outpouring of everything after it. And then there was a movie about her, which I don't remember when the movie came out, but that may have also repopularized her music or brought it to a larger audience.
Yeah, that was my thought too, is that she was popular through the whole of the 90s, like before, when she was alive, and then after her death, I think she became like even more popular.
She became a lot more.
Who sold the most throughout the 90s of the whole decade? I think that's a better answer. I'm good with Selena.
Yeah, didn't J-Lo play Selena in the movie? That's kind of funny.
She did.
Oh, yeah.
So we locked in with Selena.
You guys clued into the hint? Well, the ladies did. She only won 1 Grammy because tragically she passed away in 1995, and the answer is Selena Quintanilla.
There we go.
Yeah. Moving on to our scores here after the first round. In second place currently are the Curies, which are Matt and Jeff, with 70 points, and in the lead, the Supreme Nightingale with 80 points.
All right, we have an exciting swing round. We're gonna give you 10 audio clips. They're gonna be short 10, 15-second clips, and you simply just have to name the woman who is speaking in the audio clip. And there's one where the person speaking is a fictional character, and you can choose whether you want to give me the character or the actress that plays it. Sound good? You guys ready for number 1?
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, clip number 1.
My heart is filled with pride. My fellow citizens, I proudly accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States.
All right, here's clip number 2.
Now, you once said that you wouldn't mind being the NFL commissioner.
Yeah.
Is that still your ambition?
No, I told Roger Goodell, who's a good friend of mine, I said, you know, Roger, when I was worrying about the Iranians and the Russians every day, your job looked pretty good. Doesn't look so good from Northern California.
Clip number 3.
So awesome. What's Galentine's Day? Oh, it's only the best day of the year. Every February 13th, my lady friends and I leave our husbands and our boyfriends at home, and we just come and kick it breakfast style. Ladies celebrating ladies. It's like Lilith Fair, minus the angst. Plus frittatas.
All right, clip number 4.
Most of my cabinet colleagues have started off their speeches of reply by paying very well-deserved tributes to their junior ministers. Now, at number 10, I have no junior ministers. There's just Dennis and me, but I couldn't do without him.
Clip number 5. So I have to tell you, this is a reading of somebody. It's not the original person.
What's that got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours holds a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half measure full?
That was number 5. Here is number 6.
I'm a computer scientist. I like data because data tells us where to go and how to act. For example, 1 million. 1 million children are the number of babies that die on the first day of life. Can you believe that? Still 1 million children die on the first day. So now we know we need to work on that piece of the problem.
Here is number 7.
You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I rise.
This is number 8.
190 heads of state, 9 are women. Of all the people in parliament in the world, 13% are women. In the corporate sector, women at the top, C-level jobs, board seats, tops out at 16%. The numbers have not moved since 2002 and are going in the wrong direction.
This is number 9.
The terrorists thought that they would change my aims and stop my ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born.
And number 10.
People ask me sometimes, when do you think it will be enough? When will there be enough women on the court? And my answer is, when there are 9.
All right, it sounds like all the answers have been locked in for this swing round. So let's go ahead and review the answers. Number 1.
My heart is filled with pride. My fellow citizens, I proudly accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States.
So for number 1, Matt and I thought that was Geraldine Ferraro.
We also thought it was Geraldine Ferrara.
Geraldine Ferrara is correct. First woman to be nominated for vice president, part of a major political party. Well done.
Number 2.
Now, you once said that you wouldn't mind being the NFL commissioner.
Yeah.
Is that still your ambition?
No, I told Roger Goodell, who's a good friend of mine, I said, you know, Roger, when I was worrying about the Iranians and the Russians every day, your job looked pretty good. Doesn't look so good from Northern California.
We were hoping she would also then run the Cleveland Browns. We said this was Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah, we knew that right away. That's Condi.
That is indeed Condi. Well done.
Number 3.
So awesome. What's Galentine's Day? Oh, it's only the best day of the year. Every February 13th, my lady friends and I leave our husbands and our boyfriends at home, and we just come and kick it breakfast style. Ladies celebrating ladies. It's like Lilith Fair, minus the angst. Plus frittatas.
All right, yeah, I asked Jeff if he knew this, and he said nope.
Ooh.
Uh,
We also said Leslie Knope, aka Amy Poehler.
You both got it. Well done.
All right, number 4.
Most of my cabinet colleagues have started off their speeches of reply by paying very well-deserved tributes to their junior ministers. Now, at number 10, I have no junior ministers. There's just Dennis and me, but I couldn't do without him.
The Iron Lady herself, Margaret Thatcher.
We also said Margaret Thatcher.
Resident of 10 Downing Street. Well done, Margaret Thatcher.
All right, number 5.
What's that got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours holds a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half measure full?
This one, we didn't really have too much on it. I thought it sounded like something I had heard previously and just said Sojourner Truth.
Oh no, Kenya looks pained. We thought long and hard and then took a flyer on Susan B. Anthony.
So in 1851 was a year. It was part of the Women's Convention in Akron, Ohio. That was a famous speech now called "Ain't I a Woman" by Sojourner Truth. Well done.
Yeah.
I knew. That was the one that gave us the most pain.
And now I can retire from the game, just so you guys know.
That's amazing that they were able to get a recording in 1851.
Yeah. It's so clear.
Number 6.
I'm a computer scientist. I like data because data tells us where to go and how to act. For example, 1 million. 1 million children are the number of babies that die on the first day of life. Can you believe that? Still 1 million children die on the first day. So now we know we need to work on that piece of the problem.
Spent all my brain power on the previous one and thought this might have been Murphy Brown, and I know that's not right, so we had nothing.
We kind of put the clues together, computer science plus, concern about, childhood poverty and childhood, like illness and things like that. And we landed on Melinda Gates.
So this woman used to be, I think, head of product for a little startup called Microsoft. And it was Melinda Gates. Well done. Good pull.
All right, number 7.
You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I'll rise.
Unfortunately, another swing and a miss for us.
This is one we didn't rise to the occasion on. So.
As soon as I heard her voice, I knew it was Maya Angelou. And then when it finished with "I Rise," I was like, yeah, that's definitely Maya Angelou.
I candidly hadn't heard that poem of hers, but Kelly really likes it, and we almost played the entire poem for you instead of the 10-second clip because it's definitely worth it. But it is Maya Angelou. Well done.
I wondered if that was her, but I can't. I know I'd heard her recordings before, but I couldn't put the. Yeah. It's so weird to like. Especially like Melinda Gates, I've never heard speak.
Mm-hmm. And you never said it out loud, so thanks, Jeff. Moving on.
All right, number 8.
190 heads of state, 9 are women. Of all the people in parliament in the world, 13% are women. In the corporate sector, women at the top, C-level jobs, board seats, tops out at 16%. The numbers have not moved since 2002 and are going in the wrong direction.
This one we kind of didn't have any inroads, and then I threw out the name Elizabeth Warren, and it sounded familiar, so we went with Elizabeth Warren.
And we went from a different angle. We didn't think it was a politician talking about business. We thought maybe it was a businesswoman talking about politics, and we went with Sheryl Sandberg.
So after talking about misrepresentation in all those various fields, she goes on to express that she wants women to lean in more. So Sheryl Sandberg is correct.
Woohoo! Nice pull.
All right, number 9.
The terrorists thought that they would change my aims and stop my ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born.
We know this one sounds familiar, but we couldn't put it together.
All right. So based off basically the accent and then kind of her thoughts of, or her expression of rising from, being no one to being who she is today, we went with Eva Peron.
This was a tough one. So in 2014, she was the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. She gave a speech to the UN.
It's Malala.
It is Malala.
Oh.
Oh, yay, Malala! Yay!
The only two people who knew it was me and Neil, right?
Yeah, Ken and I both knew that one, and
We're
we were
just
like
dying here in the studio.
Yeah, we were dying to say something, but because they were way off. But
yes, we were.
And 10.
People ask me sometimes, when do you think it will be enough? When will there be enough women on the court? And my answer is, when there are 9.
We thought this was the badass Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
And we also went with the notorious RBG.
RBG is correct. Well done.
All right.
I saw her pumping iron on Colbert that one time. I wouldn't mess with her.
So after the swing round, the Curies picked up an additional 30 points, and the Supreme Nightingale picked up an additional 40 points.
Ooh.
So that's going to bring their totals to the Curies at an even 100 going into round 2, and the Supreme Nightingale 120.
All right, moving on to the second half. Question number 11 is in medicine. Which two British contemporaries and groundbreakers in the field of medicine from the 1850s fiercely advocated for sanitation and hygiene in hospitals? One had a Longfellow poem written about her, and the other one was the first woman to receive a medical degree in the U.S.
Clara Barton, right? She was...
Yeah, that would make sense. Wasn't she the one saying, like, if you just washed your hands, people would stop dying?
Okay, so we got Clara Barton, and then we got...
Nightingale.
Okay, Nightingale.
Done.
All right. They are locked in.
The only name I'm coming to is like Hutchinson.
I mean, I would rather go with the random name that popped into your head, which was Hutchinson.
Hutchinson.
So we'll go with what Nightingale and Hutchinson.
The answer is Florence Nightingale was the one who had a Longfellow poem written about her, and the other was Elizabeth Blackwell.
No!
Ah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
The interesting thing about them, they were actually born just within months of each other, and they died within months of each other, and they knew each other well and were friends, and then sort of became frenemies over, ironically, kind of how to get more women into the field of medicine and healthcare. So it's kind of just an interesting story there. So
now I've got to read more about her. So thank you.
Consult your local library.
All right. Second round question number 2 is in countries. And since we wrote this, you think we would have made it easier on ourselves. But Vigdis Finnbogadottir was the first directly elected president of this country, which has become known as one of the countries with highest gender equality in the world.
We're locked in.
Mm-hmm.
It was my pronunciation, right? That led to your
That was pretty impressive, I will say.
And we'll clarify that she was the first directly elected female president of this country.
Female president of this country. Right.
So it's either Norway or Iceland, and I'm leaning very heavily towards Iceland.
With that last name, I'm thinking Iceland.
Yeah.
So I'm good with it.
Okay,
let's go.
Iceland.
All right, and the Curies.
Yeah, this was not hurt by my recent travels there, but Vigdis, as they call her, was the first elected president of Iceland. Woman president of Iceland.
Well done. That is correct. Iceland is right. And according to World Economic Forum recent analysis, they're number 1 after you consider economic participation, education, health, and political empowerment. And the U.S. is number 51, right below Mozambique.
Wow.
Yeah, we're coming for you, Mozambique.
I think the other stat too, I think, for women's empowerment is they have the closest pay gap difference.
That's right.
It's almost negligible.
Yeah, which was due to a women's strike in 1970. They had, I think, about 90% of women participated in this strike, and they didn't go to work. They didn't do house care. They didn't do child rearing for a whole day. And then the next year, they passed like an Equal Pay Act. So,
awesome
for women.
45% of the population just dropped off the map for a little while.
Yeah.
And
That's
they're
why
like, oh no,
we're not too far from Liz Estrada happening. So if it has to, it needs to happen. So.
All right. Question number 3. This is in legislation. The first woman of color elected to Congress was Patsy Takemoto Mink, representing Hawaii. Perhaps her capstone accomplishment was the introduction of legislation that stipulated that no person shall be excluded from any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance on the basis of sex. How is this piece of legislation commonly known?
Yeah,
we're good, right?
Kenya. I think we're good.
Oh, okay.
You guys are like on fire, both teams now.
Yeah, because you probably just saw the look of despair on my face. You're like, I'm here to save you.
All right. You guys said you're locked in?
They are, yes.
We are.
All right. Kenya, I think this is Title IX.
Ah, thank you.
So, yeah. I think discrimination on the basis of sex. So, all right. We'll go with Title IX.
Yeah, I knew this mostly through when they talk about sports scholarships and having to be even. It's always brought up as Title IX, so Title IX is what we locked in with.
That is correct. It's Title IX. It amended the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And the interesting piece of information about this is that it was originally considered sort of a waste of money because it was originally kind of thought about in terms of sports, and the original thinking was that women weren't participating in sports because there just was no interest in participating in sports by women. But since Title IX was passed, the participation in collegiate athletics has increased by 560%, and high school athletics has increased by almost 1,000%. So there definitely is an interest, and this was helpful.
Yes. Thank you for the sports adjacent question.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 4 is on book adaptations. American Horror Story Asylum was loosely based on 10 Days in a Madhouse, an expose of insane asylum conditions written by what New York World reporter?
We can lock in.
Yep.
Isn't this where she went in and then was she not able to get out? Is that the story?
I don't remember the details surrounding it, but
do you have any idea?
No, I'm trying to. I don't recall the name.
I believe a reporter in that area was Lois Lane working for? No, okay, we got nothing. That's the Daily Bugle anyway.
Tapping out. Daily Bugle with Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's
Damn
Daily,
it.
Can't even get that right.
Spider-Man.
Daily
nailing
Planets.
it.
Daily
That's
Planet.
the one, yeah.
So, all right, so you're tapping. So what about you, Supreme Nightingale?
That was amazing. I'm pretty sure we agree on Nellie Bly.
Yeah, per drunk history conversation earlier.
Yeah.
Nellie Bly.
We get all questions directly from Drunk History, but that is the correct answer. She pretended to be insane and went in and just chronicled everything she saw, and it led to an increased funding and funding from the federal government in correction institutions and mental asylums as well.
Yeah, you were thinking of just a lot of psychological thrillers where someone goes
Every
into an
single
insane.
movie.
Yeah, every single one where they can't get
The
out.
one where Jennifer Lopez ends up in.
Yeah, just
There is an Angelina Jolie movie too, where she for some reason can't get out to see her kid or something like that. I think that's what you were.
I'm sure. I made up my own movie in my head. It was
the
really
Halle
good.
Berry classic.
That's
Gothica.
exactly
Gothica.
what I was thinking of. Actually.
Gothica, yeah, with Robert Downey Jr.
Great
Yeah.
movie.
Yuck. That movie.
Magnifique.
Well, thank you to our sponsor for this episode, Drunk History.
Question number 5. The category is photography. On December 8th, 1980, this photographer shot one of her most famous stills, capturing a naked man hugging his fully clothed wife in New York City. Just hours later, the man was dead. Who was the photographer and who was her subject?
I'm not familiar with this photo at all.
No. Nah, we got nothing.
But I'm definitely going to Google a photo with a naked man in a few minutes here. So,
not safe for work. We got
keep your personal proclivities to yourself.
Generally, it's not recommended that you just blanket Google naked man to try to get.
No.
Yeah, it might not be one of the top 10 searches.
Do a really general naked man photo.
Oh, I typed in named man. No wonder nothing came up.
Yes.
I'm like, maybe the internet got less dirty. I don't know.
Named man.
All right.
The unnamed man. Yeah, we don't have anything.
All right. So we believe the photographer is Annie Leibovitz, and it's a photograph of Kenya. You want to take it?
One of the things that really sticks with me is dates. And as soon as they said December 8th, 1980, I knew it was John Lennon. It's when John Lennon was shot in New York City. So I got the person right away with Yoko, obviously, and then she remembered the photographer. So yes, Annie Leibovitz and John Lennon.
I knew Yoko would be in there somewhere.
She's always in the mix.
I knew it.
It's a great photo. It's really a great photo.
She's one of the best ever photographers. She's so good.
Couple interesting facts about her. She became the chief photographer for Rolling Stone magazine at age 23, which impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the first woman to have an exhibition at the Washington National Portrait Gallery. So good on her.
All right. Question number 6. I guess we forgot to put a title in this. Let's call this Long Overdue Achievements. In June of 2018, King Salman of this Middle East country issued a decree officially allowing women to drive, becoming the last country to do so.
We are locked in.
Yeah, I know this one.
I know, like Saudi Arabia, it's a big deal. So that was my first thought.
That's the first thing that popped into my head as well, was Saudi Arabia.
Okay. So you want to just go with that?
I'd say let's go with it.
All right. So Saudi Arabia.
Yep, we agree. We said this was Saudi Arabia.
You both are correct. Well done.
It's crazy. In 2018, that story comes out, and you're like, "Is this from like the 1800s or something?"
No
or early?
kidding.
And it's like, nope, just happened.
Some of the first women who had driver's license issued in Saudi Arabia already had valid driver's licenses in other countries.
All right, question number 7. This is about Hollywood. Who can claim all 3 of the following achievements? The first woman to run a major Hollywood studio, the first to star in a show that portrays an interracial couple, and the second to be visibly pregnant in a TV show.
Kenya.
Okay,
good.
She's got it. I trust her.
I think this is Lucille Ball.
That makes 100% sense.
I think that's what we're going with.
Okay.
Lucille Ball.
Yep. Desilu Studios. She ran it with her husband, Desi Arnaz. It's Lucille Ball.
That's absolutely correct.
Nicely done. Question number 8 is on civil rights. Dolores Huerta is a prominent figure in U.S. Latino history who, along with Cesar Chavez, co-founded what is now known as the United Farm Workers. And she advocated for labor and social rights. She also came up with the slogan, "Si se puede," which 30 years later was translated into English and used by a famous American politician. What is this famous rallying cry?
Yeah.
We're locked in, right?
Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Never mind.
I just want to make sure you wrote it down correctly because you and I disagree occasionally. When I don't check what we agree on.
All right. Yeah, locked in.
I believe it's Yes We Can. I believe this was also in a Disney Channel original movie, possibly called Gotta Kick It Up. Maybe that has America Ferrera in it. That they cheered "Si se puede."
Hey, however you can get it.
If we get this right because of Disney, oh my God.
I was really hoping that would be the question that I needed to answer. Yes, we can.
I'm totally with you.
All right. We'll go with that then.
Yeah, I just used my 3 years of Spanish from high school.
And remember that poder means to do.
Yeah,
right?
and
or can, yes.
Local boy Barack. Yes, we can.
That is correct. Yes, we can is right. And it's actually also now being used in Spanish by Juan Guaido, who's the new Venezuelan president, or, according to him, president. There's just some dispute within the country still.
Okay, number 9, the category is movies. Only 5 women have ever been nominated for a Best Director Academy Award. Name 3 of them, and for 5 bonus points each, name the other 2.
I think I've reached the end of my knowledge base here, unfortunately.
I think I reached mine before the question even started.
Well, no, you came up with like 2 of them.
Yeah.
You're like 50% responsible for this list. So, okay, we came up with Penny Marshall, Sofia Coppola, Catherine Bigelow, and Ava DuVernay.
We started with Penny Marshall and Sofia Coppola, and then thought that Barbara Streisand was possibly one. So we locked in with Babs.
Neil?
I locked in, I believe the first was Lena Wertmuller for Seven Beauties in the 70s. And then it would have been Jane Campion for The Piano, Sofia Coppola, Lost in Translation, Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker, and Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird.
Well done.
Well done, Neil. You got all of them plus the movies.
No points, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we got one.
So no points, it sounds like,
Yeah.
for anybody.
No points.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And last question of the second round. You were excited about the sports adjacent question earlier. Now you get an actual sports question.
Ooh.
I'm okay with that.
Who once won 14 LPGA golf tournaments in a row, despite only taking up the sport at age 24?
Whoa. Wow.
So our thought was, if you're going to win 14 tournaments in a row, you're probably not modern era. So we kind of went way, way back and landed on, we're going to go with Zaharis as a last name.
Okay. My brain completely froze, and I could not think of any golfers. And all I could think of was someone who definitely started golfing pro when she was like 14, which makes it wrong. So we said Michelle Wie.
All right. So she also won 2 gold medals in the 32 Olympics and pitched several innings of spring training baseball and managed to win a whole bunch of golf tournaments. Her name is Babe Didrikson Zaharias. Well done.
Wow. Great poll.
Good job.
Yay. As we were saying,
sounds amazing.
As we were saying, more drunk history. There's an awesome episode. I think it's Emily Deschanel who plays her.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
This would have been
definitely.
good information to have
a good time was
yesterday.
had by
I
all.
should have just watched the show.
Well, great poll, Maddie. So that pulls the Supreme Nightingales to 200 points and the lead going into the final round.
Strong.
And very, very strong. And the Curies are at 150. So
Hey.
not too far behind, but
I'll take it.
yeah.
Okay, the categories are authors, sports, again, words and phrases, the armed forces, and science.
All right. All of the wagers are locked in, so we can get to the questions. So take it away, Doug and Kelly.
Okay, question number 1. The category again is authors. Who in the mid-19th century published a book that originally used the subtitle The Man That Was a Thing before changing it to Life Among the Lowly?
All right. Question number 2 is in sports. In the Rio Olympics of 2016, Ibtihaj Muhammad became the first female Muslim American athlete to win an Olympic medal and the first to compete while wearing a hijab. What sport did she compete in?
Can you say your name again, please?
I can try. Ibtihaj Muhammad.
Number 3, the category is words and phrases. In 2006, Tarana Burke, a social activist and community organizer, began using this now famous 2-word phrase as part of a campaign to promote empowerment through empathy.
Number 4 is in the armed forces. Which branch of the military has the highest percentage of women among its enlisted members?
And number 5 is in science.
Kind of.
It's actually really in math, so sorry about that. But you're both penalized equally. So
nice.
How dare you?
I didn't label the categories. I'm blaming it on my husband. Mariam Mirzakhani was only 40 when she died, but by then she had already transcended gender and ethnicity norms by becoming the first woman and the first Iranian to win what most coveted prize in mathematics?
All right, all the answers have been locked in. So why don't you guys take it away with the questions one more time, and then we'll give our answers.
Okay, question number 1. Who in the mid-19th century published a book that originally used the subtitle The Man That Was a Thing before changing it to Life Among the Lowly?
All right, let's go with the Curies first.
Yes, we wagered 20 points on this one, and we weren't sure which one, so we went with the Barante.
Okay, and the Supreme Nightingale.
Honestly, we got tired of thinking about the question. We just went with Louisa May Alcott.
And we wagered 5 points.
And the answer is Harriet Beecher Stowe, and it's a reference to Uncle
Tom's Cabin.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
I was not going to get there.
All right, question number 2 is in sports. In the Rio Olympics of 2016, Ibtihaj Muhammad became the first female Muslim American athlete to win an Olympic medal and the first to compete while wearing a hijab. What sport did she compete in?
All right, let's go again with Curious.
Yeah, we wagered 20 on this one. I originally was thinking something like archery, and then I was berated and said that's wrong. And then we locked into track and
I
field.
sort of remember her doing a running event, but
Some kind of running, track and field.
All right, and Nightingale.
We wagered 5 points, and I did remember this, I think, just because they had a lot of commercials of her pulling off her mask to show that she was wearing a hijab, and I believe she participated in fencing.
Fencing is correct. Well done.
All right, question number 3. In 2006, Tarana Burke, a social activist and community organizer, began using this now famous 2-word phrase as part of a campaign to promote empowerment through empathy.
All right, Curious.
Yep, we wagered 20 points on this one, and we are fairly certain this is Me Too.
And we wagered 15 points, and we also said Me Too.
That's correct.
All right, question number 4 is in the armed forces. Which branch of the military has the highest percentage of women among its enlisted members?
Curious?
Yeah, you're going to notice a pattern here. We went 20 again, and we said the U.S. Coast Guard.
And we wagered absolutely nothing, and we said Air Force.
We actually would have accepted one of 2 answers. One of them was the Navy, and the other one was the Air Force. So enjoy.
Woo!
0 points. Well done.
Our disagreement over absolutely nothing. So it was worth 0 points.
Yeah.
All right, and number 5, Mariam Mirzakhani was only 40 when she died, but by then she had already transcended gender and ethnicity norms by becoming the first woman and the first Iranian to win what most coveted prize in mathematics.
All right, Curious?
We wagered 20 points on this one, and we're pretty certain that this is the Fields Medal.
All right, Nightingale?
We wagered 10 points, and Kenya's spark of genius, she remembered that it is the Fields Medal. As I was saying, it's the one from A Beautiful Mind. They talk about it on the podcast all the time.
Neil?
Oh, yeah, from Good Will Hunting. We go, the Fields Medal, I don't want it. You can have it. Stellan Skarsgård. Robin Williams berating him in the bar. The Fields Medal, the Fields Medal, the Fields Medal. Yeah.
That is correct. It is the Fields Medal.
All right. Well, looks like after tabulating some scores here, a little score trivia for you after the Lucille Ball question. If you guys are interested to know, the Lucy Show still makes almost $20 million annually from reruns for the studio, which is pretty crazy still.
God, who's watching that?
Everyone's watching it.
I guess.
But it looks like the Curious landed at 130, and this is not a second or third take. And
let's just say that quoting Stellan Skarsgård is the closest that Neil will ever get to a Fields Medal. So
that's true.
Well done, Jeff.
And today's big champions are the Supreme Nightingales with 225 points, and today's cream of the crop.
Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Woohoo!
Air high five.
You guys mind melded on several. Like you kind of nagged it the best of them.
Sometimes it's just a match made in heaven. What can we say?
You guys should create a new trivia team.
Or perhaps a superhero named Supreme Nightingale.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anywhere there's a question going unanswered, Supreme Nightingale will appear.
And her alter ego is Kenya Chandler.
There you go.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, thank you all for being on the show and being contestants and hosting. It's been a real blast today.
Well, we're excited. Doug and Kelly will come back to host another game, which we're looking forward to. But first, we just want to say a thank you to Maddie Chandler for joining us. Any last words or things you'd like people to check out, Maddie?
Not really. Thanks so much for having me on. I guess as a future physician, go to your family doctor for a checkup.
Wise words.
Do it. It'll help you in the long run.
Yeah, come on, Matt. Just go get some medicine.
I got insurance.
He doesn't need it. We've checked. His wires are tight.
Yeah, due for an upgrade.
Kenya Hitchens, thank you very much for joining us as well. Any last words from you?
I am in a classic rock cover band in the St. Louis area called Whiskey Moon. And you can find us on Facebook at Whiskey Moon STL, so WHISKEYMOONSTL. Yay, I can still spell. On Facebook. And, and that's where we'll update for like upcoming gigs and things like that. If you're local in the St. Louis area, we'd love to see you.
Any last words, Kelly and Doug?
No, again, thank you for having us. You guys do an amazing job, and it is certainly the best part of our Mondays to check out what you guys have uploaded every week. So thank you for doing such a great job every week.
Yeah, and thank you for doing a whole episode on awesome women. And yeah, it's great. It's great to celebrate women.
To our listeners, on International Women's Day and every day, be sure to tell the women in your life how great they are.
Yeah,
exactly.
Every day, probably.
Every day would be good. Right, Doug?
Every day is good.
You don't have to answer that, Doug.
Multiple times a day better.
That's what I was thinking about when they were talking about the women's strike in Iceland. It only took one day for them, every man, to realize they were totally screwed.
That's why I brought up Liz Estrada. So if you haven't read it, you should read that play. But for those of you who want to learn some more information about International Women's Day, you can go to internationalwomensday.com. And this year it is March 8th. Every year, and the hashtag they're using is hashtag balance for better. So if you'd like to get into the conversation with that, feel free to use that hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
And the women in the studio here today are very valued and appreciated, and thank you very much for joining us. For my co-hosts Ken, Matt, Jeff, our guests Kenya, Maddie, and our guest hosts Doug and Kelly, my name is Neil, and that was Triviality.
Yeah.
My feels medal. I don't give a shit.
How about them apples? Stellan
And he
Skarsgård?
plays the exact same character that he always plays. A guy who starts out nice and then turns into a scumbag.